Go live.
We're live right now.
We're live?
Yeah, just give us a second. Make sure that everything's good. Sounding good.
Check. 1, 2.
You're a goofball, Jarrett.
Yeah, I'm a dork. Speaking of dorks, welcome back to everybody's favorite show, 3 construction workers talking about your feelings. Today we have me, J-Rat, J-Rizzle, J-Rock. You put a J in front of it, I'm it. It's J-Rat Lindsay, baby boy. Then we got my boy Dow Pal over here. He's a stinking man. He runs the show. He keeps us up and running. Then we got a guest. We got D-Train, otherwise known as Darren, up in the Biz Ilden, keeping it tight on lockdown, straight face. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Fresh out of prison.
Fresh out of prison, dude.
That was a year ago.
You know what he went to prison for? He jaywalked.
We'll get
like
into
a
that.
fucking criminal.
Whoa, language.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
That's all right. We'll let one slip.
This is a family-friendly show, Jarrett.
Sorry.
My great aunt told me the other day she was watching our show.
Oh, well.
Wow.
Your great aunt is going to not be happy with me.
Oh,
she
dear. We'll keep it good for Auntie.
Yeah. Real quick, before Jarrett pushes us off, if any guys are interested in our Discord link's down below. A bunch of stuff in there. So if anybody's interested, go to that. I usually mention that at the end, but I'm going to try and mention it right now. And then if anyone has any questions or comments during any point on the show, put it in the chat and we'll get to it as quick as we can. I do have the chat pulled up. So
We will answer it for sure.
Are we live on Aspire to Inspire?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
In case you guys didn't know what channel you're on watching this, it's Aspire to
I
Inspire.
have it down, Dallas. I'm sending links where?
Just to the men's group and into the Discord.
Yep. We're also going to preface this too. D-Train has to be out of here in a little bit, so he'll probably boot, scoot, and boogie halfway through it, but we're very happy to have him here, and he's going to help us out.
I'm so excited to be here.
Dude, we got a really good topic today, man.
All right, so Jarrett, lay the foundation.
Well, everybody, we're going to be talking about insecurities. First off, I want to preface this by we're going to have a serious moment real quick. Know that no battle is too big, and there are people here for you. And, I know that there's a lot of things that seem really big in the world and a lot of things that you go through that are going to affect you mentally, emotionally, physically. Feel free to add our Discord, talk to any of us. We're more than happy to talk to you if you're struggling with something or going through anything. We're more than happy to help talk you through it. But today we're going to be talking about insecurity. And first off, the first thing I'm going to say off the rip is that everyone faces insecurity at some point in their life. No one can ever say that they don't. If they are, then if someone comes up to you and is like, I ain't insecure. What are you talking about? I ain't never seen insecurity. I've never faced insecurity. Well, then they're insecure right then and there. So today we're going to start off simple. We're going to talk about what insecurity is. Insecurity, according to Google, is uncertainty. I'm having a stroke already, dude. We're like 0.3 seconds into it.
Out with it, Junior.
We're going to have to do a podcast on how to read.
Yeah. A podcast on how not to be dyslexic. But uncertainty, I'm still having a stroke over here. Uncertainty, there you go. Or anxiety about oneself, lack of confidence. Really, it could be like stuff that you find within you that you're struggling with. Like your weight, your physical ability, your looks, maybe the way you do things, maybe
the way you talk.
Yeah, maybe you're not the best at work, and you're like, man, I just suck.
Your hairline.
Yeah, your weight. Yeah, you've been over that. Yeah, any
your
little
beard,
insecurity.
We know that everybody can't have a beard as good as me in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Darren.
Hey, I'm growing the hair out right now. I've been over this.
You're growing.
We're getting there. But
are you done with kind of opening or?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Okay, so what I wanted to bring up first was kind of like how this topic, because me and you go back and forth all the time, how this topic came to you and how you kind of like, what made you think like, hey, I want to talk about this. I think that this could help some people. I think us having this conversation about insecurities could help. So just like, where did that topic come from? What made you like jump at it? What made you do the research? What made you look into stuff?
Man, I think it came at me just because, insecurity was a very big problem in my life, especially in the past few months and stuff. Anxiety really took a hold of my life, and I started going to therapy and stuff, and I got a lot better, and I was really insecure about, like, myself, the relationships I had, like, what people thought about me.
Oh, man, yeah.
And I think everybody faces that. So it's like,
Yeah, for sure. Everyone faces it in some sort of way.
It's a very normal thing.
Yo, yeah, don't let anyone ever downplay your insecurities or anything. It's a big deal to you, and therefore it deserves attention and it deserves to be identified and deserve to be solved.
Yeah, dealt with, definitely, because I'll go and say this. If you're having insecurities, it's almost like that's a light up on the dashboard that something's going on.
Yep, your check engine
very
lights
good
on.
point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, what you got?
I was gonna say, my next question would be, how do you think this, like, do you think this is happening, like these insecurities? Do you see them happening like in the younger generation? Do you see them happening in men? Do you see them happening in older men? What's kind of like your idea of insecurities and like who are they affecting?
Man,
Now, obviously, this podcast is generally structured toward men and young men. So do you think that this is like a big, I'll ask both of you guys this, do you think that this is a big issue in the men's community, in the younger generation's community? Like, go ahead. What do you think?
Huge issue. If you look at how many families today are broken, how many families don't have a father in the home, how many families haven't had another man to guide them, to teach them how to be secure in themselves as a man. Not that it's anybody's fault, but I think it's a big deficit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it's not only a problem in young men and also older men. I think also too younger women and older men. And the reason I bring younger women into it is that because also too these young men and young women have to come together to build the future of our country. So I think it's a very big issue that faces just the younger generation in general, and I think a lot of it stems from social media and unfair standards and double standards and stuff. And I think it's just something that you have to sit down and look at yourself and think about, and that's what this podcast, what we're doing it for. We're here to help you
to start the conversation, to start the I would say my big goal with this is to get people thinking about this topic and thinking about it in their own perspective and how it affects them, how it has affected them. And then towards the end, we're going to try and get into some possible solutions and stuff like that. Next, I know you have a bunch of notes and I want you to get to as much of them as possible.
right.
My next question was going to be like, where do you see these, like, what are the signs to you? Let's go. I think we just go like around the table real quick. Maybe not real quick, but go around the table and just say like, what are some personal signs that were red flags for you personally that said, hey, I have this thing, I deal with this thing, I need to fix this? Like, what are some of your personal signs? Because I know like something right off the bat.
You want me to rip it off?
You go rip, and then I'll throw in whatever you don't say.
I think a lot of it, a really common sign from people is self-doubt. I think self-doubt is a big giveaway into self-hatred and not talking good about yourself and finding problems within yourself, and it all really just becomes a snowball effect. Especially when you start doubting yourself, you're saying, oh man, I can't do this, and like, oh man, I can't do this because I'm so-and-so, or because I'm stupid, I'm not smart, like I don't speak well enough. Like, you guys have heard it here first. Like, one thing that I'm insecure about is, I used to be insecure about was the way I talk. I have a stroke about every 3 minutes when I'm trying to have a conversation, and that's just the way it is. You just have to, you have to learn to deal with it. And I think,
what really made you, like, what I'm really asking is like, what clicked in your head to make you think like, I'm dealing with this? What was like your breakthrough? Like, hey, this needs to be dealt with. I've seen this in myself now that I'm looking at myself, or I'm looking at my issues or my actions, or like, what was the giveaway for you to be like, okay, this is an issue and it needs to change? Like, what brought that to the forefront to you? Because you, from like my perspective, like, you like, hey, you came to me and you're like, hey, I really want to talk about insecurities and stuff like that. And I'm like, if I'm being 100% honest, I'm like, kind of boring. And then I started really thinking about it. I'm like, okay, now this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And so then I started thinking about it and I'm like, okay, we definitely should talk about this. But what made you like, because for the normal 22-year-old or 21-year-old, like, this ain't even crossing their path.
I beg to differ. I think
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what he's saying.
I'm saying like you brought the heat with this topic. Like I want to do it. I think this is an issue.
Yep.
Like insecurities are all around us, and I think young people are definitely dealing with them immensely. And this it's a massive problem I think in our culture. But nobody is like, oh hey, I gotta fix this in some sort of way. It's mostly just okay. I'm just gonna cover this up. It's like what made you like want to talk about this? What made you
What
want to
was
bring
the
this?
final straw that broke the camel's back?
Yeah, like
on
was
this?
there any? It was, or and there could be nothing. But I'm just saying, was there something that was like, okay, this needs to be talked about. I've noticed this in myself, and like, for instance, I'll just say my quick
Go
thing
ahead.
real
man.
quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, so I've always had like, I wouldn't say necessarily self hate, but just really insecure about my own body, who I am.
Yep.
And what really made things click in my head and go, okay, we need to work on this. We need to figure this out. Is I would avoid, I'm talking like I started noticing, I would avoid looking in the mirror. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. Like
Yeah.
I'd wake up in the morning and I'd leave the lights off in the bathroom so I wouldn't have to see myself in the mirror. Or if it was like at nighttime, like I would walk into the bathroom and I'd like do this with my head. Like I would like, so I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror because I didn't want to see myself. And I realized I'm like, okay, this is an issue. Like we need to think about this. We need to work on this. So that was my like one of my big signs into like, hey, this is an issue. We need to focus on this. We need to do something needs to be done about it. That was kind of like one of my moments that really made me think about that. And all I'm asking is, was there something similar to that, like for you, that made you like, and I know, I want you to not try to divulge too much information that doesn't need to be talked about, if you know what what I'm talking about.
No, yeah, I think probably if I had a breaking point, it would have been me really realizing like how much I actually crap on myself. Like, and I'm sure everyone's done it. You sit there and you're just like, dude, I'm so damn stupid. I can't get anything done right. Like, I can't do this. Like, and me, like, and this is part of being ADD. I get very, very frustrated when I can't do something.
Yeah.
Because I 100% believe I can do anything and accomplish anything that I put my mind to. And so when I find myself like sitting there not doing things and like, I found myself just like not being able to complete a lot of things. And it was just like, I was just sitting there hating on myself. Like, you're so stupid. You can't get anything done right. You can't even do this. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is such a normal thing and you can't even accomplish it. And it's like, you sit there and you start thinking about it and it's like, I am tearing myself down from within.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really good. And I think a lot of like, especially men, especially kind of like, I'm not trying to be mean here, but a lot of like manly men deal with stuff just like that.
Yep.
Like they're doers. They want to get stuff done. And when they can't do something or something gets in the way, it just like, it starts eroding you from the inside out. Darren, you wanted to say something earlier. What was that?
Oh, man.
I lost it.
You lost it? Dude, you had a big sigh. You had me prepped.
You got it right.
I know.
So as far as because one of my big things is I always want to focus on younger men coming up behind us, and I always want to be a source for anybody, even if it's like an older person listening, but to be able to try and connect with the younger generation.
Yep.
I've been talking to like a few different kids, like younger kids, and I'll kind of like, I know he's probably not listening, but I'll kind of tell you something that happened just over this past weekend. As he came to me and he was like, "Hey, what do you think is a cool tattoo to get?" And in my head, I'm like, "You're 16. Like, come on, dude. Like, you have 2 years before you can even legally get a tattoo.
Right.
Like, why do you care about this?" He's like, "Well, I was thinking about getting like a teardrop, and I was thinking about getting this and this and this." And I'm like, don't. And he's like, "Well, do you have a tattoo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do have a tattoo." I'm like, it took me like 5 or 6 years to like figure out like, hey, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, "Well, I want to get this because it's cool. I want to get this because it's cool."
Who's saying it's cool?
The culture.
Yeah.
You think about it. The culture is
Well, I
saying
mean,
it's cool.
I can't argue with that. You guys know about my tattoo.
Yeah. But the culture is saying these things, these certain things are cool. And when people like see that type stuff, us as men who have like kind of established ourselves a little bit in life, we can be honest with ourselves now, and we can be honest like when we turn around and look back. And I mean, there's plenty of stuff in high school that I thought was like, man, that's cool right there.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't at
Yeah.
all.
That's a good point, because bringing it back to insecurities, in our culture, it's not cool to have insecurities. Everybody's always putting their best self out there. Like Jared said, part of the problem is Instagram. Well, if you're looking at Instagram, most people aren't posting their biggest insecurities and problems. They're posting the best version of themselves for other people to see. You don't see the skeletons in the closet.
Yeah. And
Don't.
not even necessarily that you should
No.
see the skeletons,
Right.
But we have this false sense of like everything's great and people are so much better than me. Well, you're looking at it from a surface level. Once you get behind that mask that everybody puts out there, and you're like, oh my goodness, we're all messed up and we need help. Jesus.
You want to know what my explanation of this kid was? One of my explanations was everything that you see that you think is cool is what other people are doing to try and make everyone else think that they're cool.
Yep.
It's like this big like game that's being played on the younger generation. Like, okay, I didn't get a tattoo to go and like show off to other people to make other people think that I'm cool. I didn't go and buy this thing or wear these clothes or whatever to make these people think that I am a certain way. Because everyone knows if you have to try and make others think you're something, then you're definitely not that.
You're not being true to yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's like massive in insecurity, because everyone's trying to like, they're trying to fake what they want to be. And, you know, like they have an insecurity about money. Let's just say money.
Yeah.
They go out and buy all this, you know, the best shoes, the best pants, the best clothes, whatever. And they wear that projecting, trying to show like, hey, I have money, even though they really don't have any money. And I think,
Man, you're hitting something right there.
well, that's what this kid was like.
Everybody knows
bringing
that
up.
kid in school too that like always showed up in the nicest clothes and was just like, yeah, you can't touch me.
Yeah.
I'm hot as shit since sliced bread. Be out there and it's like dad's Mercedes or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right.
Well, not to talk bad about him, I think a good father gives good blessings, remember that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're going to think you're better than everybody else because of those blessings, then that's when it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
Because now you're making other people insecure. Maybe you're not even aware of it, but you are.
Yeah.
You're hurting.
And you know, not only with like the clothes thing, like people turn and do that same thing like on social media. Like they project the person who they wish that they were.
Yep.
To like cover up their own insecurities.
All the time,
And
definitely.
it's like one big lie just being passed around and around.
Christians do that a lot too,
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
point.
don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They want to throw Jesus in everybody's face, but
Yeah. And look, it's
What do you
all-
do in the
all-
shadows?
exactly.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people, even like in the Christian culture and stuff, it's like, you know, something goes bad and it's like, oh, I'm praying for you. And it's like, are you actually doing that?
I don't need your prayers sometimes. I need you to come over and help me deal with this.
Yeah. Or
That's
I
what-
just
you know,
need someone to talk to or someone to listen.
Yeah, that's it.
Um,
Someone to listen. Wow.
that's huge.
That's hard.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Moving forward.
So what are just some telltale signs that you guys think, like when you see them, you're like, okay, that is like an insecurity for that person. And
Personally or other people?
you can go personally and other people, like or say the personal one first or whatever, if you have a personal one.
Here, you do your personal. I'll do one that I see in other people.
Personally, one big red flag that I notice, my insecurities coming out, or me having an insecurity causing me to act a certain way. And I'll explain that farther, is like I could have an insecurity growing up that my relationship with my parents wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of dealing with that problem, excuse me, I got a little loud there. Instead of dealing with that problem, in turn, I just sacrifice for them, and I try and just do everything I can to make them happy. I try and get good grades, you know. And as a kid, you don't really know that why you're doing that, you know. So me not being able to handle, you know, the stuff at home affecting my life and every you know the things that I did. I wasn't really doing it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing everything for everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And as a kid too, and
As a
you're not
kid,
even realizing it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. So when did you like come to realize that? Like when did you notice that?
Um, so, certain points in my life, some people would call me out on it. They would see it and they're like, you know, I've had some pretty good people to look up to, and I've had some good guidance and wisdom from men that are older than me, and they're going, dude, you're like on the job site, you know, every time I come around, it's like you're trying to outwork yourself, and he's like, you know, watch the way he moves. He's not freaking running around trying to impress the boss. He's just going at a good, easy rate,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not trying to kill himself just to look good.
Yeah.
You know, he knows what he's doing, and he's confident in what he's doing.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to overexert himself and work harder.
Mm-hmm.
Darren, I know you don't know what you're doing, but you
Mm.
just got to do it right and
Yeah.
take your time. I'm not going to get mad at you. You
Yeah,
know, something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, J Dog?
I think one that I see in, especially a lot of, I see this one a lot more in older men than I do younger men,
Mm-hmm.
is like, man, it's going to sound stupid. It's like toxic, like, you know, the toxic masculinity thing where it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be too manly and stuff. But it's like, you just don't show any emotions.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's part of the culture.
Men,
that was part of their culture.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah.
also, too, as a human being, you have emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever believe that you don't. Emotions are real. Emotions, feelings are real. You are entitled to your emotions,
Definitely.
and you are also tied to your emotions. So, when I see all these dudes like just stone cold pissed off of the world and stuff, it tells me like, hey, you're struggling with something.
Oh, definitely.
Something's going on deep down that's bothering you.
Yeah.
Something's there.
I think that comes back to that whole like the whole projection thing too.
Yep.
It's like I have to project that I'm this big, strong, you know,
Mm-hmm.
badass.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, and
Mhm.
it's like you're not. No, everyone knows you're not fooling anybody. You know, my thing that I look for all the time is, and anybody can do this, and I would test myself with this all the time, is eye contact.
I knew you were gonna say it.
Eye contact, and when somebody's walking, if they're looking at the ground. And so my thing is, the reason why I know to even look for that is because that is me. And for anybody who doesn't know, there's a rule right there on the wall. You guys can't see it, but it's rule number 1. If Jarrett wants to read rule number 1.
Stand up straight with your shoulders back.
So I heard that. That's Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I heard that, and I remember I was like getting in on this journey. This is in my early 20s. I was getting in this journey of like, you know, becoming who I am as a man, wanting to better myself, wanting to like just revolutionize who I am as a person. And so I started out with a lot of self-help type stuff and a lot of listening to a lot of sermons and stuff like that. And I read his book, and that was the first rule, and I almost shut it off. Like I almost shut the book off. I'm like, first rule, stand up straight with your shoulders back. I'm like, okay, this is horse crap. Like, this is so stupid. Everyone, you know, this is so dumb. Like, why would this even be a rule? And I still remember the day, and I was at work on a job site in Charleston, and just for an example, like the jobs that I was doing, they were so big, like the houses were so big. There's multiple people all working on the same house at the same time. So you could have like electricians there, HVAC, plumbing, siders. You could have all these different people working on the same exact job. So there could be anywhere from like 5 guys to 20 guys all on the same house
Yeah.
working.
Yep.
And so I would be listening to books and stuff like that, podcasts while I worked. And every single day, I always would go to the bathroom, pee or take a shit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the outhouse was like, down the driveway.
Yeah.
And I would walk down the driveway and I'd play the stupid, like, oh, this rock is my best friend. I'm going to kick this rock for and see how long I can kick him for.
It's gonna go all the way to the Porta John with me.
And I would like do that all the time.
Yeah.
And I like it one day, like it clicked. And I'm like, I have this problem. Like, all I do is look down. That's
Yeah.
all I do.
Yeah.
I look down at the ground. And I'm like, I have to, even that was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I still have to tell myself, like, pick your head up, pick your head up.
And it's funny, you won't notice that until someone says something about it. The next day you go into work, pay attention to everybody around you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say 80% of people are when you walk by them.
Yeah, head down, look.
So interesting. I remember when you told me about that, and I noticed it.
And the thing is, like, is the ground that interesting? No, it's not.
And hey, here's a good thing about that too. If you start picking your head up to notice other people doing it, you're already practicing a good habit right there.
What do you call that? Pick your head up, king. Keep going.
You dropped your crown. Pick your head up, king.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
But the other thing too, and so I've done a lot of thinking just on this simple thing, right? And the insecurity, you want to know what the insecurity was?
What's that? Whoa.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Oh,
So, cliche term, but the eyes are the windows to the soul, right?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you look into someone's eyes, you truly see who they are. And what I realized for me personally is I didn't want to have to look into someone's eyes and have somebody look back at me and see who I really was inside.
Yeah.
This, young kid who's scared.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the big insecurity that I didn't want anybody to know is like, I'm scared. I'm scared of working. Am I going to be married someday? Is my wife going to love me? Like all these things.
I think that's when anxiety ties into insecurities.
Yeah.
Yeah, anxious. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You've never done this before. Maybe you weren't told the right way. You're too scared to ask someone how to do it, or you can't put your ego aside. I mean, there's so many things that go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also too, just before we keep going down the rabbit hole about the eyes and into the soul, it's a very common problem in women as well.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Miata chick,
No.
the crazy one?
Yes.
They called the cops on me.
Yes.
Oh, your ex.
My first ex. I got a second ex now. I just rack them up, man.
2 ex-wives already?
I'm over 2,
Jeez.
man. I don't know what to do at this point, but
Back off.
yeah, go to Montana and live with a dog forever and just pump concrete. But anyways,
Read a lot of Paul.
But so I remember so vividly, and my mom always said something to me about it. She was like, Jarrett, she never opens her eyes for pictures. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? She was like, she never opens her eyes for pictures. And so it was just like, she knew that if she opened her eyes in a picture, somebody could see inside.
Mm-hmm.
So she just never did it. And I started like noticing that like a lot of women do that. And
Close their eyes in pictures.
close their eyes in pictures. And so if you see that, like, don't be like, oh, I know you're insecure, but just offer like, hey, is there anything you would like to talk about? Do you need someone to talk to?
I have a story for that.
What?
My wife, Devin, the first time I met her, we met at
When did y'all meet? How long ago was that?
2018, at the end of 2018.
How old are you?
I was 19.
Okay.
Or 19?
20 something? Yeah, 22.
Yeah, you and Dallas were the
23.
you and Dallas were the same age,
Yeah,
aren't
dude,
you?
I slipped. I almost had it right, but you put me on the spot like that. I got to
I'm
do
sorry,
simple
these
math.
people don't know much about you, so we gotta.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, we met at a saloon, and it was pretty interesting, but, so I'm texting her the next day, and, she's like, I have a kid, and, she went home with her sister that night or whatever, and, I got her number, and there's a funny story to go with that, but we'll save that for later to get to the purpose. She sends me a picture, and the first picture she ever sent me was of her and her boy, and I'm telling you, the eyes that they have, I mean, crystal blue. and it sold me. I couldn't help. It was just so beautiful to see. You could see it was just something you can't describe. I was hooked. I couldn't get off. It was different,
Dude,
you know?
I think like looking people in the eye, especially when you're speaking to them, is huge. And if somebody can't do it, like you can always tell when someone can't do it. And
Oh yeah,
and like for me, like I'm not this like big, like, oh my gosh, I'm so smart and I notice all these things. Like that was me, like for so long, for years and years and years. Like that was me. Like I never looked in people's eyes.
Yep.
I never talked to them like face to face. It's always like the you do the yeah, 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 and you like you
oh
use,
yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Dexter uses the thing as he calls it like the nervous sip. You know, when people are like hanging around each other, like they do things
That's a real thing.
to like be
Yeah.
disconnected from the conversation. Like they'll either like take a sip of their drink, or they'll like look at their phone, or like they do all these things, or they'll like go up and like play with something like just for instance, like if Darren has this little laser gun on his keys, right?
Yeah, keep them zombies
You
away.
know, like whenever someone's
Does that
like
thing work?
nervous,
Yeah, shoot it.
Holy shit, that's sick.
Oh yeah, it's got a laser on it too.
Busting it down.
but like I remember like I'd be in a conversation and I'd like have something like super stupid like this, and I'd be like, man, like I'd be all interested in it, like
Oh yeah,
so cool, like let me look at the mechanism of this trigger, and you know, like
anything
like,
but what was going on around you.
yeah, exactly, like be
Yeah.
all involved in like something so like little and dumb.
Yep.
And so that was just like I like from anybody out there like listening, like I only say these things because it has been me, and still to a certain extent is me. Like I still have to keep myself in check
Definitely.
all the time.
Yeah, because you'll never defeat insecurities.
Totally, 100% defeat. Oh,
Never. Well, there is a way, but you'll always have to deal with it. They'll try and creep back in, and we're going to try and give you the tools
yeah,
to deal with that and learn how to handle it in a healthy way and not in an unhealthy way to where you end up hurting yourself, right?
Yeah, and there's plenty more signs to a couple signs I got written down here is
Let's blast them out and then
envy and jealousy. I think that's probably the second biggest.
that is huge.
Because man, jealousy is just a natural human emotion. Everyone
really
gets
is.
jealous,
Yeah.
and you know jealousy is a thing that's going to happen, but how you act with your jealousy or your envy is really what tells your true character.
I'll just for anybody who doesn't fully understand that, the telltale signs of envy and jealousy could be when you hear stuff like this.
My water over there, Dallas. That big jug. You can't miss it.
me.
Oh, thank you.
When you hear the
It's like a gong.
must be nice, daddy's money,
Oh yeah.
must be nice to be him, wish I could do that, you know, oh, he's just lucky, oh, she's just like that, oh, they always get what they want. Those are signs of envy and jealousy. Oh, I wish I could just do this. Oh, this person, they always win, they always get this, nothing wrong ever happens. Like that's what jealousy and envy and stuff looks like in real life.
It's a trick of it's a trick of the enemy to get you to start disliking other people because they have things you don't, but you don't see the insecurities that they're dealing with, you know.
My
Did
bad.
you just snag his pen, dude?
I thought he had
That
one.
was a criminal offense.
Hey, you know, he gave it to me, so I let him have it back first.
Oh man, I just banged my elbow on the crowbar. Anyways, another one. I would say these two probably tie in together, and then I want to like fast pace through this one to this next one because
Yeah, you're good. Get to it.
Perfectionist and being harsh and critical on yourself.
Yeah, those are. What are these again, Jarrett? They are telltale signs that.
Yeah, these are just kind of signs that you can find within yourself. If you're a perfectionist, I used to be a perfectionist. I was a hardcore perfectionist, and that also comes a lot with just like me getting very frustrated with myself. Cause
Used to be, you still are. You
Yeah,
just got to do it in the right way.
I am. I still am a perfectionist. I like being on top. I'm not gonna lie.
There's
I
nothing to be ashamed of.
I like being the best there ever was, and that's just
Exactly.
that's how I get myself by is because I don't look at it and go, man, if I mess this up, I'm going to be a loser. I teach myself to look at it and say, hey, if I mess this up, I'm going to come back and I'm going to knock it in the fucking teeth.
Ooh.
And I'm going to beat it.
Well, another thing to go with that, though. Oh, man, I just had it. Say that again real quick.
Perfectionist and being harsh and critical on yourself?
Oh, perfectionist. But there's nothing wrong with trying to do the best you can if you're doing it for God.
Ooh, that's good. That's really good.
And then there's no, if you're offering it in the right way to God, if everything you do is a sacrifice in the right way, not because you're insecure, but you know how much you're loved by Him,
Yep.
and He accepts that, and He accepts you the way you are, then there's so much more fulfillment in that. But if you get into that selfish, egotistical, I'm doing this for me, that's the pitfall right there.
Yeah. Just
You're losing the battle. You've already lost.
and selfishness too is also a very big insecurity.
Oh, yeah.
In young men,
Yeah.
especially. And I mean, I it stems a lot from how you were raised. In all honesty.
True. Yes.
But I want to fast pace to this
Go
one.
ahead. Read it.
Which
one is it?
This one's a very, very good one. The fear of rejection and abandonment.
That's huge.
So there's a lot of young men. I'm friends with a lot of. I know a lot of people, especially in the concrete industry. You know?
Oh, definitely. If you do concrete, you know too many people.
Right, and I know a lot of fins too. Just just being around construction and stuff. And a big common thing I see in a lot of people I know, and these are men that are like 27, 30,
Yeah.
31.
People that you think should have their stuff together. I just cut out Dallas.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I don't know.
We still
why.
got you
Oh
on
no,
here.
I'm back. Yep.
Yep.
People that you think when you reach a certain age, you're like, man, they should have it together at some point.
Yeah, and there's a lot of men, especially young men. I get it too. Like a lot of young men are like, man, I don't want to be alone for the rest of my life.
Oh
And
yeah.
then they get this internal fear always on their shoulder. They're always having to look over their shoulder saying, like, man, I'm going to be alone, I'm gonna be alone. I have to latch on to the first thing I find. I'm guilty of it.
Oh
100%.
man.
I own it.
Oh man. You get into that and.
But
I think that especially if you have that feeling, of like, oh, I need somebody to talk to. I wish I had somebody to talk to. I think you really have to try and be able to be good with you first, because
absolutely.
if you're broken and you need somebody else to come in and like fill that void and fix you to make you better, to make you happy and all these things, like that, you can't take two broken people and put them together.
You said void?
Yeah, to fill the void in you.
A void is what?
A void is like a dark, empty space.
A dark, empty space that can only be filled by what?
Jesus, this is real.
The light.
Yeah,
There you
the
go.
only one
Yeah.
who can really
So
fill.
we're all chasing these things and we're trying this all out as young men because I've been there before.
Mm-hmm.
I went down some paths that I almost didn't make it out of, prodigal child type stuff.
Yeah.
And he pulled me out time and time again because he had something better planned for me.
And I think one of the biggest insecurities that we really haven't like brought up yet, but it kind of really this part like alludes to it, is women, especially for men.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
That girl is not going to fill that hole. Only God can do that. And I stress that because
Like,
We have a lot to build on the women thing, man.
well, the thing is, like, a lot of young men think like, because what gets plastered in front of you, it's these well-off or put-together people, and just think of culture and Instagram and all these well-off, put-together people, and they have everything, and then they also have the woman, and the woman's always good-looking, and you're like, oh, if I just had somebody like that, my issue would be fixed. This would be fixed. This person would tell me that I'm, handsome, that I'm good looking. They would want to, hang out with me. They would want to be with me. You have to learn how to be good by yourself,
yeah,
alone.
not even
Before-
good. You just have to figure out what you're capable of.
Especially if you're a young man like my age, like 21,
Yeah.
20, like you're really honestly, I thought I had myself figured out at 20 years old. I thought I did. But
Oh yeah,
I look back over like the past few years and it's like, holy shit, I didn't know anything compared to what I know now.
nothing. I mean, well, no, I'm not saying you're stupid, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I'm a dork. Don't get me wrong.
I've caught myself plenty of times where the second you get that I've got it figured out thought, oh man, you're in for it. Something's coming, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think the beginning to the journey of like
Self improvement, being better.
being better, I think at all this is understanding that you don't know, that you really don't know anything. Like that's the beginning.
A sense of humbleness about it.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of men, like young men, 18, 17, 16, 17, 18, like I was this way. You're in high school, you're in 11th or 12th grade, you're at the top of the world.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, I got this stuff figured out. Yeah,
Well,
you have
a plan, and trust me that
you have high school figured out.
You're finally starting to get some of your own freedom. You got your own car. You got your own permit, license, stuff like
Friends.
that. A job. You're starting to get out there in the world, and it hasn't really.
Hasn't punched you in the face.
you're the
yet.
baddest thing since John Cena on WWE SmackDown, baby boy.
Oh yeah.
But like these young men, I think like they have all this stuff, like it's all figured out, and I know who I am, I know what I want, but some people do know who they are at 18, and they do know what they want and where they want to go at 18, but most people don't. And then you get into real life, and you're going to be taught that lesson one way or another.
Well, another thing to remember, yes, you are going to be taught that lesson one way or another, but there's a path for all men to follow as men. Who said that? John Eldridge?
Yep.
Wrote a book on it. What was it called?
Wild at heart.
Wild at Heart. Any man, any boy should definitely read this book if they want to learn about becoming a man, because it helped me make some steps. Yes, there it is. Shout out to John Eldridge.
Read it and weep.
Wow, that book right there blows your mind. The first chapter is all about how much your Father in heaven loves you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the hole that we all have. If we don't know that God loves us and that He's our Father and that He accepts us just the way we are, if we come to Him, He will fill us with all the blessings and all of the securities we need in Him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is the beginning to understanding that you are beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yes, there you go.
I think the biggest thing with that, for me personally, has always been, I can understand that, and
Yeah,
I can still build off of that. Like,
yeah,
yes, I am beautifully and wonderfully made.
yeah,
Let's just say I was 240 pounds at my heaviest, but that doesn't mean I just can say, oh well, I'm loved and I can just stay at this. Like, no, the purpose of understanding that you're loved, you're beautifully and wonderfully made, that you're perfect in God's eyes. Like the point of understanding all that stuff is to not dip into the negativity, to not dip into the voids, into the darkness.
yeah,
Is to use that understanding to give yourself the power and the thrust to continue improving then on yourself and on your relationships with people and on your relationship with Jesus. And I think that the earlier and the faster you can understand, I know nothing, I am nothing, I don't know, I'm not the wisest person in the world, I don't have all this figured out, but I am beautifully and wonderfully made, and God does love me. Right there, that's your foundation, and then you build from that.
Yep, exactly. Now you can start moving. So I would say, not to go ahead and end our whole discussion here, but for me personally, and this is what I truly believe, the solution to insecurities is getting right with God, accepting Him into your life as your Lord and Savior, doing everything for His glory, and finding yourself a good mentor that believes in God and that can show you the path forward from wherever you are right now.
Yeah, that's
And I got to leave on that.
that's a good
Oh man, can we get a round of applause from the viewers for D Train?
yeah, please
Thanks, guys.
please put it in the chat.
Yeah,
Love y'all.
we got D Train. He's been through a lot. He knows a lot. He's a very smart man.
Hopefully coming for more.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
hopefully. He's a construction worker, and we're just gonna peer pressure him into construction workers talking about your feelings. Everybody's favorite podcast.
All right. Love you guys.
Later.
Love you
bro.
later.
All right, scoot over to the
Yeah,
middle a
I'm
little
gonna
bit more.
scoot. Well, let me. You know what? Yeah, hang on. No. Yeah. Well,
I already shut his mic off.
you already shut it. Sick.
So
Wow, this is romantic.
another thing that so I really wanted to kind of like get down and dirty a little bit on is the men not showing emotions thing. I think because there's always a little bit of truth to some stuff.
Yep.
And I mean, my personal belief is the extremes are always most of the time the extremes are always bad. So, if you're on one end of the extreme and you're always showing emotion, that's not good.
Right.
But then if you never show any emotion or you never have an outlet for that emotion, that's not good either.
Right.
So, like, what are your personal thoughts on like men not showing emotion? Do you think it's good in any sort of way? Like, do you think there's situations where it's good not to show emotion?
Yeah, I do. I think I'm just gonna keep it real. We're gonna stay on the woman thing. Women don't like a weak, wussy-butted man, and that's just the bottom line. But if you go in and you don't show any emotions and you don't care and none of that, women don't like that either.
Yeah. Let me speak on that real quick.
Yep.
Women, they don't want you to be their puppy dog.
Right.
So if you're always showing emotion, you always are, needing, and we're speaking more of like as if you're in a relationship. So if you're speaking to, if you're in a relationship and you're always being emotional and you're always showing your emotions and you're always in distraught and broken down and stuff like that, you eventually just become this little tiny puppy dog that's always in distress that needs help all the time. Or you become like a child in their eyes because you can't handle yourself.
Right.
Now, on the other side of the extreme, you never show any emotion. You never do anything like that. You never talk to your wife or your significant other. And on that end of the extreme, then you never make healthy connections with them either.
You have an acquaintance instead of a relationship.
Yeah. And you're not building any strong connections that are going to last or hold things together when times are tough, whatever it may be. So that's kind of the two extremes. And I wanted to talk about like how this just like kind of plays out. Like, what are some things that you even like heard before? Like, what as far as like this topic? Like, the first.
You know what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. What?
You know exactly what I'm thinking about. The stuff we had happen like a week ago.
We'll just like say it like without giving stuff away.
So Bobbert, we'll throw two names in the game, Robert and Bob, and we'll just call him Bobbert. Me and Dallas were out at a place and we're hanging out, having a good time, and Bobbert is just. I was talking. We were talking about like.
I think we're talking about the podcast.
Yeah, we were talking about doing the podcast, and Bobbert goes, "Oh, what's your podcast on?" I was like, "Oh, we're talking about insecurity and like how men struggle with insecurity." He's like, "Oh, I never struggled with insecurity." Well, that right there tells me you struggle with insecurity, or you at least have.
Yeah.
You may not now, but it's like that insecurity is not a thing that you can run from. It's not a thing you can hide from. It's not a thing that you can just shove deep down and say, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." Like it's a problem. It's a problem in today's world, and it's a problem that I think has grown. Of course, Bobbert is much older than us. He comes from a generation, and I think insecurity has grown a lot more in recent years due to social media than it did.
Social
back in
media
his
was
age.
gasoline on the fire.
Man, social media. I will preach to the day I die that social media is one of the worst things ever. Do I sit there and I can let it take my life for hours? Absolutely. But I do think that it's awful for the mental health of the younger generation, especially with how impressionable our generation is. Like, I was a very impressionable child.
Yeah.
Grew up with no father. I mean, I had direction. I grew up, but it was just me and my mom. I was being taught under a woman, and there's a lot more people with it a lot worse than me out there. But it's like, I was looking for men that would be my guidance. I think that's why me and you came to be such good friends and stuff, is just because you were that guidance for me. But I think a lot of people they don't find that, and social media is there to just be their guidance.
So, just to kind of give like a little bit of like clarification on that, whatever makes me do what I do, which for some of you guys, you might believe in this or you might not, but I feel inside like I get urges. And I say it's urges from like the Lord, like, hey, I want you to do this. Like I always say like he just places it on my heart. And not all, like most of the time I don't want to do whatever it is, whether it's like, hey, you should. The other day I looked at this dude right in the eye. I was walking into QT and I'm like, that guy's going to ask me for money.
Yep.
And I never carry cash with me, and I had cash on me. And I'm like, it was only a couple dollars or whatever, but I'm
Right.
like, I looked at him, I'm like, he's going to ask me for money. And then I heard that feeling or that thing that's put on me, and it's just like, give it to him. So I walked out, I looked at him again. He goes, hey man, can I have $1? And so I'm like, yeah, you can. And I knew it was going to happen. So I went and just did it. And I necessarily didn't want to do it, but it just felt like urged, like from the Lord. And with you, like it was this, I just had this realization, like this kid kind of has nobody.
Yep.
And it's like, who's going to go? I'll go, Lord. Like who else is going to do this job? Who else is going to be there for this kid? And I'm like, nobody. So
Yeah.
if I'm standing here and I'm realizing that, then the answer is it's you. Step up. And so I did my best to just step up and be a person in your life.
And I had a couple other. I had Joe, your father-in-law.
Yep.
But Joe was hilarious about it because he just sprayed me with a water hose and called me a pussy.
But there's people who are willing to step up, but there's not enough of them in the world. And so for like anybody out there, because I've always said about, having a mentor and like people to help guide you and stuff. For one, it's asking questions. That's a huge thing. Like have the ability to go and ask a question. And so that's kind of where our story kind of starts at. And it's a pretty good story. I might have to tell the whole story someday.
Yeah, we might have to do I know we did one on me growing up, but I think we should just do like a podcast on like me and your relationship throughout the years and what we both faced and stuff.
Yeah, things that I've noticed, and not to like.
Me and Dallas have slept in the same bed, if you're wondering. I did cuddle him too. Remember Ty has that video of me putting my arm on you?
Oh man, but yeah, that'd be a good conversation just about maybe we'll do like a whole podcast on just like mentoring and guidance and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it'd be
that.
really good.
Just from like our perspective. I really wanted to get into confidence type stuff because that's something that I've always struggled with.
Okay.
And just kind of the signs of it, and then I want to get into like some of like where people can start practically getting some solutions. And
yeah, I got a few solutions written down that we can run through. We'll do confidence first.
Yeah,
let's dive in on that. And I don't have any notes on that, so I'm just gonna wing it. But we'll go with it.
So I think for me, confidence has always been something, and I know it has like been an issue for me personally because people have always came to me and like they've mentioned this, and that's part of like part of the thing to figuring out that you maybe do have a problem is when people come and say certain things to you, like listen to them. Like I was told by multiple people like you lack confidence in yourself, and like they were always like, I don't understand why. Like that's what was always said to me. I'm like, well, I suck or whatever. And so like people would always come to me, but once people come to you, you have to then take the initiative in yourself to then pursue it and figure out why. And so I think that is a massive part. And I think confidence, a lot of it stems to then failure, being afraid to fail.
Oh yeah.
So that's like where I think the bulk of confidence issues comes from, aside from your own looks and stuff like that. So I think failure is massive, and everybody fails. Like you have to make failure your friend at some point in time. And I always use like, I have like started working out and been really good and then dropped off so many times and like gained some weight back. And I wish Darren was here because he's done this a million times. But like I started working out and then, losing a little bit of weight, getting stronger, and I'm like working out every day, and then fall off, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to like restart that engine again and get back eating good and working out and cardio and running, and and then I drop off and then start over, fail, start over. But that's what it's all about. It's like failing, being okay with failing, and then being able to like move on.
Right. You need to understand as a person, as a human being, no matter your gender, no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are gonna fail in this life, and you are gonna fail a lot more than what you would like to do. But again, too, if you won all the time, would life be fun?
No.
So you're given two options at that point when you fail. You can either piss poor me it, or you can get up and do it again and say, hey, what can I do different this time?
Yeah, that's where you truly
how does someone become a master of something?
they
Me and you've
fail.
had this conversation.
Yeah.
You fail. I'm thinking about buying a banjo. Just because I think a banjo would be a sick hobby, but it's like, do I expect to buy this banjo and then automatically be good at it? No, I know I'm going to suck at it at first. And my mom's going to hate me because it's going to sound awful for God knows how long. But it's like, if I put my mind to it, I think I can learn it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if everyone can just accept failure and that failure is going to happen and that you don't need to be insecure about it, you need to take it as a lesson. I think when you can do that, you can really, really make a difference in life.
So one of the things I think with confidence, one of the ways that you can start like helping yourself out with it is play the whole like scenario out in your head. Like this is one of the things that helped me out extensively with confidence is, before I get into this, let's get to Dexter's thing that he posted. So Dexter said, I'm trying with the beard. Keep going. You need to get some beard oil or something like that.
I shaved mine off just for you, baby boy.
What's your guys' biggest lesson that you've learned? I'm going to write that down because I need to ponder that for a little bit. And do you have like a directed, like what's our biggest lesson that we learned
Like
in
together, or like
general insecurities, or like as a whole, like an open-ended type question? So I think, oh man, I had something really good to say now. I should have just said it.
and just farted. Brain fart.
What were we talking about?
Dexter, from failures.
Okay, good. Because that's what I want to get into. So, like, when you're dealing with failures, you have to try to. This is probably the biggest lesson that I've learned, and this really, 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 really helped me. Is because that for me, the insecurity of failure is still there. Like I still feel it. It's never like for me. It's not really like gone away.
Right.
But so what I do it to help me, and hopefully eventually someday I'll be able to stand on top of the mountain of being afraid of failing and look down and be like, I've conquered this. But for now, what I've learned to do is I play the whole scenario out in my head and I tell myself, what is the absolute worst thing that could happen? So let's say, let's just use like the woman example. You see a chick over there, you think she's cute, and you're scared to go and talk to her. What is the worst that could happen? She turns around, looks at you and laughs and then walks away. Or you like, hey, can I have your number? What's the worst you can say? No.
Yeah, your pride might be hurt a little bit, but it's like, okay.
Are you still breathing? Yes, you are. Are you
think
still
about
alive?
how many chances at other women you'll have.
Yeah, it's like, but like the worst thing that can happen most of the time is people can say no.
Yep.
And it's like, well, at least you know not to go to that chick again because she already said no. Or, hey, I've already tried this thing and that thing failed. Or I needed money for, this project that I'm doing and I went and asked this person, they said no. Oh, well, I'll go ask this person now. And when you can like, I think when you can do that in your own head and you can like really break down the worst case scenario for you, going into like, if you can do that, like, I'm trying to, the only thing I really think about like right now is like money stuff, but working out, whatever it may be, pick the worst possible path that could happen to you. Like, man, this would be the biggest failure. when something bad goes wrong in whatever thing that you're doing, it's like, well, I already know what the worst possible case here is. So it doesn't really matter to me anymore. It's like you can almost foresee sometimes you can foresee like the situation going wrong, but 99 times out of 100, it's just like something doesn't work or somebody says no, and you just move on. And so just being able to understand that as far as failure goes and be able to like work through worst case scenario and then be okay with the worst case scenario. Maybe you go in and you figure out the worst case scenario and you're like, that's likely to happen and I'm just not even going to pursue that anymore. Like it's not even worth your time.
Yep.
And so then you can just avoid the whole thing.
I think another good lesson, at least that I've learned from failures, is to have a plan. Now your plan is probably not going to go according to plan. I'll give a good example. So when I was in high school, I said, I'm going to be a police officer. And so I said, I'm going to go to school for 2 years. I'm going to work at Lowe's, save up as much money as I can, and then go to the police academy and be a police officer. You can't be a police officer until you're 21 in South Carolina. I'm 21 now, and I drive trucks and pump concrete. My plan didn't happen, but I had it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I fail at the plan? Theoretically, yes. Did I get to where I'm happy though? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a big thing is just if you have that plan and you know, hey, this cannot go fully this way, but I know I can still find a way to be happy at the end of it. Then you're setting yourself up for more success than you are failure.
Yeah.
So I think just if you go into something, just have a plan on it, and then if it doesn't happen, you can say, well, what can I do different?
Well, yeah, and when you go in with a plan and something in the plan doesn't work out or whatever, you are able to spin that and then go off in a different direction. You know what I mean? Like you're able to change course, and then learning how to change course is a skill on its own. Because once you can get good at doing that, you can take almost any situation and turn it for something to be either productive or successful or, whatever that may be. I think that's huge. Okay, I really wanted to get into some solutions.
Oh man.
To some of these insecurities, like kind of just bring everything full circle. So pretty much we from the beginning of the conversation, we understand that insecurities and stuff like that are a problem and they hinder us in our lives to achieve the things we want to do, achieve the connections, relationships. It's just a big hinder. We talked about some of the effects, some of the signs, some of the things to look out for. And now I really want to get into some of the solutions that you can try and to help you get a leg up, to help you get the ball moving, just different stuff like that. One of my first, and I think probably one of the biggest ones is just hard work.
Yep.
Because as far as confidence, all those type things, you can't be good at something. You can't have, like, let's say you work a job, right? No one is ever going to come and do a job, never have done it before and be good at it. So work hard to be able to then achieve something or get something from what you're doing to then help boost your confidence, stuff like that. Like pretty much learn something, because once you learn something, at least you have something to then build off of. And I think working hard is massive. It's always been my thing. Me and you have probably had more conversations about working hard than anything else. And it allows you to build up like a resume. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're an 18-year-old kid and you lack confidence, like go and do stuff, go and try things, go and work hard so you can build up this person of who you are. You can build up these skills, knowledge, all this stuff. You build it all up, and then you have at least something to then build off of or jump from, or however you'd want to like phrase that. But I think that's massive. What do you think?
I think probably my first one, and I got a bunch.
Yeah.
So I think probably my first one is practicing self-compassion.
Explain.
So I think, as insecurity, when you are being bashful on yourself, like, man, I'm not good at this. I'll never be good at this. Like, I'm ugly. I'm stupid. Like all this stuff. Like again, you're tearing yourself down from the inside. How can you expect success if all you do is just hate on yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a good way is to practice self-compassion. So one thing that you could do is find yourself beating little task at a time. So if you have a task and you beat it, you need to just go, man, that was really cool. I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I got through that and I got it done and I did it the best way I could and I'm happy with it. Another thing too is with your looks and stuff. It's like, hey, I may be a little overweight, but I'm working on it. I'm getting there. I'm working hard. I'm putting in the effort and I will look good someday.
Yeah, and it can start off with something as simple as I went for a walk today. I did something.
Yep. Good job. Hey, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
It's also too like finding people that are supportive of you as well.
Okay, so that's where I wanted to go from this.
Oh man.
Because like you even, I think for us to be like our relationship between each other, we understand each other enough to call each other out on like when I was talking to you on the phone today and you're like, man, you sound all mopey. You better not ever sound mopey on the phone again to me. You know, just little stuff like that to like, hey, I see what you're doing. I hear you. I'm going to try and snap you out of this. Like people who are looking out for you, who really know you.
Yep.
Like that is so massive to help people to tell you the truth. Like, you know, I always try to do this. Someone today, I really made sure, as a friend, I ran into a friend today, and this friend told me something that we had talked about before in the past, like something that was difficult for them to do. And today they did it. And when they told me, I was like busy and my head wasn't in the right space, and it was in the morning. So I was kind of like, oh man, like I need to go back and say something to him, like to make sure that I noticed that he, you know, improved himself, because I know he had, you know, he wanted to tell me this because it had been something that he's been working on or trying to be better at. I want to make sure that he knows that I heard him and that I'm like, right on, dude. So like hours later, I like went back to him and I was like, hey, remember you were telling me about that thing earlier? I'm like, dude, that is awesome. Like, good job. Like,
Yep.
nice. Like, that's what real friendship looks like. Being able to like go when you see a friend who is trying to do something and then they do it, like better themselves, recognize it and go and tell that to them.
Oh yeah.
And it was, I don't know if it made some big difference in him or whatever, but you have to be able to do those things to your friends, and then you want friends to be able to vice versa do that for you, because that really helps to know that people like have your back and people are there for you. Like as far as insecurities go, like if you're free to be who you are around, you know, your friend group or certain people, and those people pump you up and you pump them up, like dude, that is like one of the that will light a fire.
That'll change your life.
Yeah.
It will, seriously.
And you specifically have always been someone who's done that.
Yeah, man. I think too, if anyone, if I could ever preach, like I'll never be famous, I don't think, but if I could ever be famous and they would be like, Jared, what would be your one tip to the world? It'd be like, lift one another up and be kind. Because I think, you know, we live in a world where we don't have enough of that, man. There's people that are starving to death on the streets that people just walk past and ignore and all that stuff. And it's like, man, just give them a hug, you know?
Yeah.
If you don't have any money, give them a hug. But I think another good one I have is to challenge your thoughts.
Insecurity.
So insecurity. We didn't really talk about this because we were just hooking and booking through it. But insecurity can cause a lot of overthinking. Irrational scenarios, especially if you're in a relationship with someone. I'm very guilty of it. I'll come up with irrational scenarios, overthink, and it'll just be a burden on your relationship. So I've been going to therapy. I've actually went to therapy for anxiety. I've been doing it for like a month now. And one of the things my therapist gave me was to be like, hey, when you're overthinking like that, challenge your thoughts. So it's like, ask yourself the 3 questions. Is there a possibility that it can happen? Can it happen? Is it there? And then it's like, ask yourself, is this a fact that it will happen? Or is this a feeling that you feel it's going to happen? So it's like, if you like, are like, oh my gosh, we'll just use a relationship as an example. It's like, oh my gosh, she's going to cheat on me. Like, do you feel that way, or do you know for a fact that like this person's going to cheat on you?
Yeah.
You know, like, do you have the evidence behind it and all that stuff, or is it just a feeling? So then it's also too, the third question was, will it matter in a month? Will it matter in a year? Will it matter in a few years? And it just kind of, the few years thing, it just puts such a broad perspective, because then you have to think back and you have to say, what was something that mattered to me 2 years ago that I look at now and I go, that's the dumbest shit ever. Why did I care about that?
Or what's something that you can look back like years ago and be like, man, I'm glad I did that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's huge. And that actually, it's funny you even bring that up, because I've been dealing with like the same stuff, and I went and spoke to somebody about it. And one of the things that I got from the conversation I had with my mentor, my person who I go and talk to, is they told me, like, you need to start doing some things for yourself.
Yep.
Like, everything that you're doing is because of all these, you feel this way about this person. You feel that, they need you to do this. You feel that if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. And you get so wrapped up in, what was the initial statement that you said?
Challenge your thoughts.
Yeah. You're never challenging these thoughts. You're never challenging them. And you get so wrapped up in all of it that it just snowballs you into like brain breaking stuff. And for me, one of the things that I had to tell myself is, you need to start doing some things for you. Like, you need to be able to say no. You need to be able to say, like, I am going to go do this, and I'm not going to think about now. Okay, I'm not telling you guys to go YOLO your life away. I'm not saying that. I'm not
Go partying, getting hammered.
Yeah, like, I don't no regrets.
No regrets.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're a person who struggles with the insecurity of trying to make other people happy, trying to help everyone else out all the time, it is good for you to go and, hey, sorry, I can't make it to that thing, because I want to go hiking, so that's what I'm going to go and do. Or, I had a long day, it's been a long week, I haven't gotten to do anything for myself. I'm going to sit down and watch a movie, because I haven't done that in I don't know how long. Certain things like that, like, you have to go and do the things that you want to do. And yeah, sometimes they're, oh, I really feel like this person asked me for help. Oh, hey, can you come help me move? Or can you come and help me do this thing? Can you come help me work on my car? If you're always being that person, always doing that stuff, and you never do anything for yourself, or have some fun, have some time to just relax or let go, like, your brain is just going to end up breaking, and you're going to overthink all these things so much. So
definitely as a young man.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think every young man should find a hobby. Especially now there's so many hobbies in the world that you can get into, like, especially like with a PC and like all this stuff. Like, for me, I love my jet skis. I have 3 jet skis. I'm rebuilding one right now. I just love rebuilding jet skis. I love going hiking. Like, I have these hobbies. And one thing I realized that in my last relationship was, like, I'm losing sight of the things that I like because I'm trying to keep this person happy, when really it should be, you should both try to keep each other happy, but don't lose sight of the things that you enjoy individually.
Yeah. And in relationships, there's always going to be sacrifices.
Absolutely.
But you shouldn't sacrifice all of you.
Right.
And one of the one way to think about this too is, like, as far as relationship goes, if you end up sacrificing all of you all the time, the person who is then with you, they've lost the person who they used to love or used to want. If you just become like a yes man, or, honey, I'll do whatever you want, I'll do, whatever, blah, 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 and you're always at the other person, your spouse's beck and call, and you can't go off and do the things that you want to do, like, you're not being the person who they fell in love with.
Yep.
Now, obviously, we all change over time and become new people and stuff like that. But, like, you have to be you. You have to cultivate who you are. You can't just be who everyone else wants you to be all the time. Now, I'm not saying don't help people. Like, I think we all should help people. We all should do things that are productive and, be a light to the world. But there are times when You need to go off, do things that you like to do, things that, bring your head or bring you whatever you back to like calm, rest, and stuff like that. I think that's massive.
Yep. I got two more really good ones,
Hit them.
and then we'll run into our closing. Number one, or no, actually not my number one. This is my number three. I'm so sorry. Therapy.
Mm-hmm.
As a young man, you are taught from an early age that therapy is for the weak. Therapy is for the ill-hearted, the mentally ill, the whatever you want to call it. Therapy is probably one of the most useful tools that a man can have. Because, especially if you feel like you don't want to express your emotions around somebody, it's a spot where you can be vulnerable, for sure. And it's a healthy environment. Like, I've been going to therapy for a month now. I struggled a lot with anxiety and stuff, and really, I did not want to go. I was so adamant on not going. I was like, I'm not going to therapy. That's stupid. It's dumb. It's all this. And then one of my coworkers, his name's Doug. He's the man, dude. Best guy ever. Very older. His daughter went to high school with me, and his daughter had cancer, I remember. And they really thought that she wasn't going to make it. She's doing very healthy now. She recovered, beat cancer, kick-ass girl. She's super cool.
That's awesome.
But I remember like saying like to Doug, like, man, everybody's trying to get me into therapy and I don't want to go do it. And Doug just looked at me and he said, I went to therapy when my daughter had cancer. And I was like, what, really, Doug? Like, you're this badass dude. Like, oh, he's like, it was killing me. It was killing me from the inside. He was like, I'm better now. I'm taken care of. And it was a very healthy place for you to talk about your feelings. And, maybe therapy is not the best route for you. I mean, we have other tools too. I would say my other tool would be to aim for progress and not perfection. Insecurity, anxiety, all of these feelings are not something that you're just going to beat overnight. It's not. You're not just going to wake up and be like, hell yeah, I'm the fucking man. Like, it just doesn't happen.
There is no like 180 turnaround.
Nope.
I think probably one of the best things that made me realize that point is as far as progressing and getting better and stuff like that, is you do need data. How do you like compare yourself? How do you know you're moving? How do you know you are getting better? And one of the ways you can do that is you take yourself, who you are, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and you compare it to who you were yesterday. You compare it to who you were a week ago. You compare it to who you were 5 years ago, a year ago. You use yourself as your own comparison.
Journaling is a very helpful way to do that. I remember my buddy Brady, he was like, dude, I've been journaling. And I was like, what a freaking loser. Why is he journaling? And then I started doing it and like writing how I felt in the moment and stuff. And I'm like, holy crap, this is actually like super helpful. And it's very good if you are looking for progress. Like, that's one way that I found a lot of progress within myself was journaling how I felt on a day-to-day. Not really. I mean, I didn't do it every day. I did it like maybe once a week, like how I felt throughout the week and stuff. And it is probably one of the best ways to compare yourself to, am I getting better or am I getting worse? I think also too is just motivation. Motivate yourself. Find people that motivate you. There's so many useful tools that you can surround yourself with as a person to help find progress and not perfection.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's all my notes. I think
that's mine too. I have a big closing message, but
yeah. Okay, so I'll say my last little bit, and then I'll let Jared get into the closing message. I think that just as a whole, just to come all the way back, is at the very end of the day, you have to understand that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, that you are, handcrafted from the hands of God, and that, He does love you and you are already loved. And I think you take that and you use that as your foundation, and then you start moving forward. And, there's so many tools out there. There's so many places that you can go. One of the biggest things for me has always been family. And I know some people, their family is difficult.
Oh yeah.
But do your best to rekindle little parts of your family relationships. Do whatever you can, because family is something that you're just kind of stuck with. And so do your best to rekindle those relationships if they are down. And if your relationships in your family are good, then make them better. Call somebody up, be a light to other people, reach back and help out. If you're an older guy, go and find some kid that you can give some advice to, and it doesn't have to be, try not to make it so like, hey, I'm going to help you. Just be kind. When you see somebody do something that you think is very respectable, let them know that they did a good job. That's another big, I think we talked about the failure stuff, but when you get a success and other people notice it and they say, hey, like you did a good job right there. Like that was awesome. Good on you. Hey, I see you've been working out. You've been putting in all these hard days. Like good job. Like being that person who can like give some praise to other people is massive. And as far as insecurities go, we all have them. Like that's one thing I hope everyone understands, that everybody has them some sort of way, and everyone deals with them. So don't ever think like, oh, this person, they just have it all figured out, because that's just not the truth.
Yep.
With all that said, I'll let you close this out.
I just want to say thank you for listening. Me and Dallas, we try our best to work really hard on this. I know Dallas does a kick-ass job at this and stuff, but also too, I want you to always remember that the world is a better place with you in it. If you're ever struggling with anything, any problems at all, our Discord's available. Feel free to talk to us. Get in there, and if you want my personal number, you can give me a shout. We'll talk. I'm a truck driver, so I sit on the phone all day. If you have anything going on, anything bothering you, you want to talk about, you want advice on, I can't guarantee it's going to be the best, but I'll help you out the best I can.
What he's saying is, if you want a friend, you have one.
Oh yeah, this is insecurities, anxiety, depression. These are all feelings. Don't hide your feelings. Don't push them down, because you're just going to tear yourself down from the inside. But me and Dallas are more than happy to help you conquer these things.
Yeah, the Discord link's down below. So if anybody wants to pop in there, and then we can go from there.
Yep. So I'm J Rock, J Rizzle, J Rat, the one and only. This is Dow Pow, Dow the Great. We're two construction workers talking about your feelings, baby. So thank you for watching, and I guess we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, we got more stuff.
We're gonna keep cranking it out. We'll see you guys later.
All right, take it easy.